Hey gardeners, welcome to the Urban Gardener. I'm Enoch, and I'm really glad to have you all along with me here today. We're gonna have a really fun day. We're gonna just kind of go around and do what we're gonna call our summer 2022 garden tour. This is gonna be part one of that tour, where we're gonna focus mainly on our alleyway gardens that we've got growing here along our alleyways. And then part two, we'll get into our back patio and our back fence area and talk about all the different things that we've got growing on in those spaces. But before we get going on this garden tour, I do want to encourage all of you to go down into the description below and click on the link for our Facebook group, the Let's Get Growing Gardening group, and join with us, share some of all of the different things that you've got growing on in your gardens, because you know I really love sharing all of these different things that I've got growing on in my gardens, but I really enjoy being able to see what you guys have got growing on as well too. And that Facebook group is a great opportunity for us to be able to connect together and share all of our different things that we've got growing on in our gardens. So today we're going to be starting out with this garden space that's right behind me right here. This garden space is a garden space that's grown by my neighbor who lives in the house right behind the fence here. When I moved here 10 years ago, I started with just having grown a cucumber and thought that I was going to start with doing some more cucumbers that year, and some tomatoes, and I think a pepper plant as well is what I tried that first season that I lived here. And I had that just on my back patio space in some containers. Well, I was looking across the alleyway here and seeing what my neighbor has growing on in his space, and he's growing, as you can see now, corn and all of that. And it's some really nice, big, tall, white Mexican corn, and these big, tall stalks of corn and all of that. That year, when I saw all of that growing, I just got my mind and imagination going, and since then we have developed all of the different garden spaces that we have around the alleyways, the back patio, the back fence line, the back alleyway, and we've got a lot of different things that we're utilizing here to grow all sorts of different types of foods in all sorts of different types of ways in small spaces. Now, any one of these spaces could be just one individual space that anyone could have and be able to utilize some of the things that we're talking about and doing while we're growing here in a space that you might have as well too, that you didn't think of that you could use. Now, alleyways are all over all the different cities we live, all over the country, and a lot of those spaces are just kind of unused and really unkempt too. Nobody really keeps up with those too, so they can be really just kind of a eyesore in the long run too. Now, my side of the house, the door I use mainly as the in and out door, faces this alleyway here too. So having this beautiful garden here grown by my neighbor, along with the spaces right to the right of it and to the left of it, you know, just kind of made me think, you know, let's try to improve those and see what we can do with those spaces as well too. So that's what we'll focus on. After we talk about my neighbor's garden here, we'll go up to the front and talk about all the different things that we've got growing on in those spaces. So let's get down in and check out what my neighbor's got growing on in his space this season. So over the years, my neighbor's garden here on the back alleyway here has had lots of different variations, but usually these mainstays of corn and cucumbers As we see here, tomatoes, those things I'm seeing in his garden each and every season. But over the last few seasons, he's been incorporating more trees, bushes, and some perennials like these flowers here. We've got these gladioluses, which are really, really beautiful flowers. And they're starting to die off here, especially as the summer heat is getting more and more intense. But I just really love these flowers. They produce flowers right up the stem all the way to the top, and then they kind of die off that way too. But they're just these really beautiful kind of trumpet flowers. But yeah, just really love those. I really like all the things that he does with his garden each season, especially as he finds way to incorporate different things into it. He's a landscaper, so as he's working different jobs and those places are tossing things out, he's finding ways to incorporate them into his different garden spaces, like these oak barrels that he's got here this season that he put in, and he's growing some pretty nice things in there. Looks like some cucumbers and stuff we'll look at here in a moment. And he's got this large container just right up front here, and it's got some strawberries growing around the base there, putting out some runners. So he'll probably have some strawberries starting down there if he doesn't pull those off. But yeah, we got a nice tomato here. It's putting off some flowers. You can see back here we got some fruits. It's a little cherry tomato. So it's already starting to produce and lots of flowers. So that's a really nice tomato here in his garden. And then, like I said, he's got these oak barrels here too, which he's got some corn growing out of here. And looks like some cucumbers. I'm not sure what variety he's got growing here. There's a little fruit there too, so looks like it might be, you know, just kind of maybe a slicing or a pickling cucumber. And over here, you can see he's got lemon cucumbers. There's a tag there. You can see some little fruits growing in the back there. So yeah, you see he's got this corn. It's also growing in the front here right out of the ground, as well as in the containers too. Now, as I mentioned before, he grows some pretty tall white Mexican corn in seasons past. Might possibly be the kind of corn he's growing again this year too. But yeah, it's really always cool to see these really tall corn stalks. And he's got a really great south-facing alleyway space here too, so it gets a lot of really good sun, which those corn stalks really like. So it's going to be really cool to see how well that corn does later in the season, both in the containers and out of the ground. Oh, here's some more lemon cucumbers there. One of my favorite cucumbers. I hope to get some producing off of some plants that I have too. And he's got some more too, as I can see right here. More of the lemon cucumber variety. And these ones here, well, it's about ready to just pull right off the plant. This is a good time, maybe in the next couple of days, to be getting them here before they actually start turning yellow. They're really tasty, kind of at this middle stage. So yeah, those will be ready to go. Probably with plenty more to come too here. Yeah, these corn stalks are looking really nice. Getting really tall. And then down below here, now I'm seeing some rounded leaves here. So I'm thinking maybe he's got a melon of some sort, or maybe a squash in here. along with definitely some more cucumbers. We can see the more pointed leaves there. So he's definitely got some more cucumber varieties going along with the squash or something. I don't know, I don't see any other plant tags. Oh wait, here's a plant tag, and actually take a look at this. Right down here, there's a cucumber. It's about ready to be taken off the plant there. That's looking really nice. Let's see, I saw a plant tag down here. So it looks like we've got market more slicing cucumbers. So yeah, that's about ready here today, tomorrow, next day or so. That's a perfect ready cucumber. Yeah, and then down here, it's got this, what is a, looks like maybe the inside of a dryer or a washer or something like that, that he's turned into a large pot, and he's got these strawberries growing out of them. And as you can see, they're dropping their runners, trying to send off new plants. Yeah, I like this stuff here. This is kind of cool. Not sure what that is. Anybody know what that is? Let me know down in the description below. But yeah, those are pretty cool. It looks like they don't need very much water, very drought tolerant type of plant, which is perfect for the summers that we have here. It's got a few more of them kind of growing there too, along the edge. But yeah, it's just a really nice garden space, and I thought was just really great when I first moved here to be able to see the sort of things that he did with these spaces and growing all the different edible plants that he grew, especially over those first couple of seasons, was just really, really inspiring for me in growing the rest of our garden spaces here, and actually ultimately leading to this channel and me sharing all of our different garden spaces too with all of you. So let's go ahead and head off to the front of our alleyway, and we'll kind of work our way back through the alleyway and show you all the different things that we have growing on in our alleyway spaces. Again, inspired by that. That's just wonderful. So to get us started here, we're gonna start right on the front side of our house here and work our way around. What I have here is a bed that we placed in this space here. I believe last season, the beginning of last season, I was building a new bed for our back patio. So this bed here, I was just gonna get rid of in order to use that space. But I ended up moving it up here. We took the bottom out of it and built a hugelkultur style bed here. So we have a raised bed. It's got at the base of it a lot of different logs. So you can see we've got some logs and wood over here that we piled in there, along with some more smaller sticks and branches and leaves and grass and lots of really great organic material to form a base in that bed. And then we kind of piled it up there, leaves and compost and soil, and then topped it all off with some really good composted soil. And the bed is really great. It's been growing a lot of different things over the last season or so, but as you can see here, we've got these plants here, which pretty much are food for all of my earwigs and things that I need to find a way to trap as many of these things this season and try to bring the populations down, because they have been one of my primary pests this year. In fact, you could tell, look at my little jumping spider here. Hey, what's going on? See, they're not even much afraid. They're just friendly spiders. So don't mess with your spiders. They're such a beneficial bug. They're helping take down a lot of the other different pests that are getting in here. Oh, and look, here's another one too. See them wasps? These guys hunt around inside of your leaves looking for all of those little caterpillars and worms and things that are in there, and then they'll feed off of those as well too. So even though they can be kind of nasty sometimes, they are very beneficial. So it's good to have them around your garden as well too. So back to our plant here. I just want to tell this. I planted out seeds earlier in spring in some flats, and I mislabeled some of my flats and ended up planting what I thought to be purple sprouting broccoli, and used some of the extras here in the space of this bed, and that ended up becoming this cabbage variety here. And I've got one all right size cabbage there out of it all. The rest of them sat in those flats just a little bit longer, and they didn't get to be much of a start. So ultimately, again, they've ended up being more food for all of the different pests that come in here. But as you see, we've got some beneficials that are helping us take care of that there. And we'll probably harvest that cabbage up here and use that here real soon. Now, right across from here is where I built and set up a herb garden around this bush that we've had growing here all of these years. And so this thing here, I've actually, you know, really cool. I've taken this, when I first moved here, I cut that thing all the way down to the ground, and it grew all the way back again. And at that time, we just decided to make sure that we're keeping it nice and trimmed and looking good, and we planted all around it different varieties of plants and herbs here too. So we've got a lot of really cool things like this sage here. We've got lots of different mints and oreganos, and this right here is actually a pineapple sage. This is really nice. This actually I planted out last season, and I didn't know how well it was going to do. It died off a lot. In fact, I'll show you here. This was pretty much what was kind of left there, and I was wondering if it was going to grow back, but then it sprouted right up out of it this season, and it's grown a really, really nice plant. This pineapple sage is really nice, and it'll produce some really nice flowers and all of that here later on. Got some basil plants that we planted out not too long ago, so that's why they're still kind of small, but trying to make sure I'm keeping these flowers pinched off so that we'll keep promoting some more growth off of those. This here is a garlic chives, so we've got some garlic chives growing here. And a lot of my herbs right now, especially our mints and our oreganos, are starting to flower. Now, it's good to start trimming them and getting them cut and harvesting them when they're starting to flower and all of that, or before actually, as they're starting to stretch out as they want to flower. But I just kind of let mine go and grow out into flower, because I just can't help but enjoy all the different bees and all of that just love and feed off of all these flowers. They go really, really crazy over these things. So I just love having them flying around the gardens and all of that. So I harvest as much as I can for what I like to use and all of that, and then I let these plants grow out so that they can feed all of the bees and all the pollinators out there. And as you can see here, this is our peach tree. It's got lots of different little peaches on there, these little small frost peaches. And it's doing pretty good in this spot here. And again, even though, I mean, really, it is actually taking a beating from some of the pests here, just really eating up a lot of its leaves and all of that too. So, but it's It's holding out pretty good, looking pretty nice. But I'm really enjoying all of the different peaches that are hanging on to the tree right now. So as you can see, they're actually starting to turn more yellow as well too. So these things might actually start to ripen up here real soon, and we'll have a bunch of these small little mini peaches. And seeing as how they're kind of small too, it'll be great to have a bunch of them, as you can see on this tree, ripen up. But yeah, here's the backside here. We've got some of these lilies here that have already produced their flowers. But gotta find a way to get that one to stand up there. But here, down here, we've got some more chives. We've already cut these and harvested these back once already this year, and they're starting to produce a lot more, and even some more flowers too. But I really enjoy having chives in the herb garden too, because I use them a lot with a lot of different things. So it's good to have those. I'm hoping that this will spread and the bunch will actually grow a lot bigger. Here we've got a little small lavender. Just really love the fragrance of that. And next to the lavender here, we've got these cannas, and they're just really blooming beautifully this year. Just amazing flowers. I love these. I planted some cannas next to my neighbor's place several seasons ago, and they've just not produced flowers as well as these ones have here this season. There's even more coming up here real soon too. These plants here I've planted in this corner right here were plants that I got really on a deep discount last season, as the plants looked like they were dying. So I just took the bulbs and the plants and planted them in here to see how well they'll do. They came up a little bit last season, but not too well. But this season, they are just doing really amazing. I can't wait to see what they'll look like in the seasons to come. Now also right here, we've got our fig tree. Now I showed this fig tree earlier in the season as we got it potted up from a bare root cutting that I got. And it grew really well. I got it all started indoors, and then I brought it out when I thought that the weather was gonna be all right. We ended up having some really late cold snaps here, and boy, this thing did not like it at all and lost all of its leaves and everything. And I was really worried that it was gonna not come back or survive that, but it actually has. It's done really, really well. It's looking awesome right now. Just not seeing quite any fruiting or anything yet, but it is producing. We'll have to probably cut some of these lower branches off here, but yeah, it's just growing, keeps getting some new leaves and everything, looking really nice. So right at the opening of our alleyway here, we've got this little corner space that's got this nice like railroad tie right here that's been driven into the corner here, and I'm sure that's to keep vehicles or something from heading into this direction towards the house, which also makes me think that maybe at one point that did happen, which inspired somebody to actually do this. One of my neighbors lives on a corner here just about 2 blocks away that the traffic comes right around it, and if they go too fast, they ended up having cars and vehicles jumping into their yard all over. So they placed big, massive boulders all along the front of their house there in order to keep people from doing that again. They say it's pretty much eliminated that problem. So what we have here underneath of these rose bushes are a bunch of different strawberries that we've been growing for the last several seasons here. And luckily, after last year, when we had people come and fix up our yard, the maintenance guy really weed whipped out all of our strawberries. I couldn't believe he didn't know exactly what they were at all, but they did grow back all right, and since then we've actually gotten new plants started with some of our runners, and we're starting to pull out some of the older plants so that we can get better strawberry production out of this area. You can see we got some right in here still coming that need to come out. But yeah, this is a really great little spot for our strawberries underneath of our roses and next to these gladioluses. Yeah, we've got some really nice ones here of our own right up front here. It's just really beautiful purple pink variety here, and then this color, just really amazing. This like peach orange cream kind of color of these, just really nice. Yeah, and the bees are loving them, as you could tell as well too, and similar to our neighbors growing down the alleyway. Sun and this time of year, they're really starting to dry out, and I mean, well, they're drying out really fast from when they're blooming too. So we're just really trying to enjoy them while we got them. And we do got a few more coming out here too as well too. So we got some to look forward to as well. Now across the way here on the other side of the alleyway, we've got this space here, which I've just been still struggling to figure out exactly what it is I want to do with it, because I get occupied with other things, and then it just seems last minute I'm like, what should I do? So I've taken some extra plants and some like an extra watermelon plant that I've got here, and an okra. And it's really, you know, it's not having the best of time, neither, both of these, because these again, we've suffered with the idea of a lot of plant stress. We've given a lot of our plants this year because of, you know, I got COVID a little while back ago, and I didn't have the ability to get out and plant some of these as they needed to be planted. And so they sat in their pots for a while, and they got some of that root stress, which just ultimately has stressed the plants out and not given them the best start or ability to grow. Plus now the heat is really kicking in, so that brings a lot of stress, especially to some younger and smaller plants. So it is expected that these probably are not going to do completely that well, but anyways, we'll have them growing and see what we get anyways. I've been surprised by plants before, so we'll see. And right here we've got one of our sunflowers growing. This one here is a Velvet Queen. And again, the bees are just out loving everything right now and feeding off all of our flowers in our gardens. And right next to it here we've got a tomato here, and this variety here is one of our competition varieties that we got from Cindy Tobeck. She sent us seeds from a 7-pound tomato, and hopefully we'll get some sort of tomato production off of that, but we'll see here. We're not competing anymore, so I'm not worried ultimately what we do get, but for fun, we're still kind of gonna see exactly what we get there. And place some of these buckets back here too. And we've got a pepper variety growing here called Dos Landes. And it's this really cool, like, long pepper variety that you know, it kind of looks like a long hot pepper, but this will turn nice and bright deep red here in the coming weeks, and will be a really delicious sweet pepper that I eat these right out of their garden. That's one of my favorite things, like picking berries off of the garden and just eating them. They never make it to the kitchen because they're just so delicious. Then we got some more of our strawberries growing out of this one here, and then some of these dianthus plants here, some extras that I planted out here. And we've got our 45-gallon grow bags that we were growing for the competition that are growing out our sweet potatoes. As you can see, look at these vines. I'm really trying to keep them trained inside, and they've been kind of looping around on each other right now. And I've got an idea to maybe get a trellis or something like that to maybe kind of pull them up instead of letting them go out And I'm sure that they're actually going right through the middle of these two here. Yep, see that? Work their way right into the fence there, and they'll be growing out into my neighbor's yard over there as well too. But yeah, it's gonna be something to try to keep up with all of them, but it'll be awesome to see what kind of sweet potatoes we get out of these grow bags. And then here we've got one of our two different edible flower arrangements that we set up here, and we've got lots of really nice, beautiful edible flowers growing in these containers. These violas right up front here. Look at these nice, these are stalks, just a beautiful flower here, and then a white variety over here. And we got some of these calendulas. And then behind the calendula up here, we've got some of these bachelor buttons. And in the back, it's supposed to be some nasturtiums that just really are not doing too well. And they've just really been eaten up by a lot of the pests. Another variety here too, this one here. This one's really neat. This is a variety of dianthus right here. But yeah, I haven't given, again, not too much care or worry. I would have really handled a lot of this differently and assembled this a little bit better. I just kind of threw it together around the time that we found out that we were eliminated from the contest. So, you know, we're just gonna let it grow. It's really beautiful, lots of the flowers there, you know, so, you know, in the long run, it's not too bad of an arrangement as it sits. But we got more sweet potatoes again. We've got just a couple of different varieties that we're trying to see. And we'll really have to try to keep up with those leaves and all of that. And then again, another very same type of arrangement here, except for, you know, we've got our calendula here and our bachelor button coming down this way. And then some more of the stalks and violas. And the same thing with the nasturtium. Not doing too well, really gotten eaten up. But these ones in this container look just a little bit better than the other container though. And then similarly on this side of all of the grow bags, we've got some more containers here, again with the dianthus and some of these strawberries here. One we forgot to pick. Looks like it got to be some bug food, and we got one of these pepper plants here, which is supposed to be one of our hottest pepper varieties. And it was one of our extras, so I just thought I'd put it up here in the space so it would kind of go along with the other things there. You know, the tomato, the peppers, the sweet potatoes, the arrangements. The only thing we didn't really have in this area we're able to grow in our gardens was the squash. And that we planted over at our friend's place. And I'll give an update on that thing as well here coming up in an upcoming video. Now in this container, we've got our apple here. This is our pink lady apple. And the tree is, it's curling a little bit right now. It's trying to keep up with our, like I said, we got record temperatures. I hope this thing will do all right. Trying to keep it nice and wet and trying to keep it as hydrated as possible in order to, you know, help it through this extreme heat. But, you know, that's just one of the issues that we got to deal with. And, you know, we got some apples on here, lots of different apples throughout the tree. So I'm hoping we'll get some there. They're not growing all that big, not like the size that I saw come off here. We only had a couple last season, but they were actually pretty decent sized. These ones aren't growing completely that big right now. So we'll see how it all turns out. But tree's actually shaped nice and looking really good this year ultimately. So you know, I look forward to seeing how those apples do ultimately. And look at this here, these tiger lilies. These things are just beautiful. Again, I got these flowers here the same as I got those ones across the way, the other cow lilies and all of that, on a discount, because I like to look for those plants, and especially these bulb varieties, because they may not look that well when you're buying them or getting them on, especially at the discount. You get them on the really good discount shelves at your garden centers. And these bulb variety type plants are perennials. They'll grow back each season, so it may not look good when you buy it, but look forward to your upcoming seasons when you get to see just flowers that are just really beautiful. This one's drying up a little bit more, but I mean, just amazing. So totally worth the $1 or $2 that I spent on a shabby plant to have one grow the next season looking like that. And down here, right past our little cat garden space that we have here for a couple of our older cats that passed on. So we keep our little garden space here for them, and grow out, as you can see right here, catnip. And so the cats really love this, not just George and Dexter that we have now, but a lot of the different alley cats that pass through here come and check out the catnip and hang out right here. So it's kind of a really kind of cool little tribute area to our alley cats. And next to that is our pear tree. Now, our pear tree is looking all right now. And it's holding through the heat and everything, just like the apple tree. It does get itself just a little bit better shade in this spot. And I thought it to be a better spot for it, especially because it wasn't getting the very best start. And we did get some flowers and what I thought were going to be some fruits, but those ultimately fell off of the plant. And so we're just going to kind of grow it out this season and hope for the best next season. Now, right next to that, as you saw in our last video, we built out these vertical garden trellises for our garden beds here in our alleyway. And we've got things growing, and they're really getting going too. We've got these cantaloupe right here, actually right on the end, and they're really starting to spread right now. You can see we got them going off in that direction. They're heading off in this direction. We've got a couple heading right up the vertical trellis. As you can see also too here, our onions this year, which again, I have not done very well with onions over the years. This is probably the best I've had so far. We've actually got some decent little sized bulbs here, and I swear I think they're still growing. I'm not too sure. I mean, the plants have fallen over pretty much, but so we're going to be harvesting these as we're kind of using them. This one here is still standing pretty good and still kind of growing there. So we do got some onions out of what we got started with our onion seed this year, but not very much, not like I was hoping. But it is better than I've done in the seasons past. So I am getting better at doing onions. So hopefully next season we'll have some really, really nice ones. Now also here too, we've got this cantaloupe that's growing along this way here. But right along the front here, we also have some pole beans too. And as you can see here, one of them has already started grabbing hold of the trellis, and we got another one right over here too, as it's starting to grab the trellis there. And down in the corner here, we've got this other watermelon plant, similar to the watermelon that we've got up there. It was just kind of one of those plants that didn't get into the garden as soon as it needed to, so it's probably just a little bit root stressed as it got going. But it's now starting to really stretch out though. It's heading off that direction into the cantaloupe over there and starting to grow off of the bed over here. But It's also starting to head up our vertical trellis along with those beans, and then the cantaloupe heading over there. Hopefully that'll fill up this trellis here real soon, and maybe we'll get to see some production off of them. Although I'm not holding out too much hope for my watermelons, but we'll definitely see here coming up soon. And in between our beds here, I've got this pepper plant. And this pepper plant, similar, you know, I think this is the same hottest pepper variety, one of the leftovers. So it got put in this space pretty late and actually starting to produce some flowers. And we'll probably just pull those off for now so that we can try to make sure that this plant is putting whatever energy it has into actually growing and getting a little bit bigger. And then I'm sure it'll start producing just fine, especially as we start to cool down after this heat wave. And growing up right above it, I put in a sunflower, and it looks like it's starting to produce its flower bud there too. So we'll probably start seeing that popping out here real soon. And then we've got our second vertical trellis, and it's got a bunch of our pickling cucumbers that we've got growing in this bed. We've got maybe, I think, like 4 plants or so here, and they're just really taking off. They're really growing. And again, it is very hot right now, and these temperatures are going to make your plants wilt a bit, and they're going to kind of hang and droop. And you know, some of them are, you know, all right, not too bad, but some of them are just a little, mind you, our soil is really nice and moist, making sure that everything's really just, you know, everything's good. They've got a lot of good water and all of that. They've just got to bear through this heat wave, and they're already starting to produce lots of little different cucumbers back here too. So hopefully we'll start harvesting cucumbers off of these lower parts of the plants here real soon as well. But yeah, this is really exciting to be able to utilize this vertical growing space in our alleyway gardens here and really kind of up the production of what we're able to do in these spaces. So yeah, this is really great. I was really excited about putting this project together. And if you haven't had the chance yet to see the video of how we put these together, check out our last video. I'll put an iCard also right up above for you there, and you can go check that out as well. And a little further down the alleyway here on the other side of my neighbor's alleyway garden, we've got the neighbor next to him. This gentleman named Joe was really kind enough to let us use some of his space back here as well. And it's just been something we've kind of been changing and developing over the last couple of seasons as we've had a couple of issues. One, a neighbor down the alleyway this way came down and painted Joe's fence red. And he came down and did that because he thought he was doing him a favor by covering up some graffiti that was left behind on the fence there from back when I first moved in. In fact, that graffiti was put in maybe 2 years after I lived here. It was put on there, and it was just something kind of small. And so he came and painted the fence red. Now, red was just a little too much, not just for Joe himself, but for myself having to look at it. So we came out and painted it. My daughter and I went and painted over it and got it that nice white. And then my neighbor here also painted his nice white too. So we've got it kind of cleaned up a little bit. We've got some ideas a little bit more we'll talk about maybe down the road as far as this area here. But one of the other issues I had last year was we were growing some potatoes in bins right here. This is a really great spot. As you can tell, with all the other things that are growing along this alleyway, it gets really great sun. So it's a really great place for those things that like real full sun. And potatoes, they really like some good full sun as well. So we grew those there, but yet those containers maybe took up just a little bit more space right up in here. And my neighbor right over here has a big RV that they like to pull out and utilize whatever space they can get in order to maneuver that into that spot there. And a couple of years in a row, they were, instead of moving the containers that were there, they ran into them. So we kind of had some issues in dealing with that. But what I'm trying to do is kind of just free up and allow for as much space right here as pretty much the trouble area, other than coming up so far as to get to that drain spout. But we're going to kind of work on a couple of other things here. We've got this trellis to utilize some of that vertical space as well. But trying to figure all of that there out. But we do have some things growing this year. Got this nice big pot here growing some tomatoes. The tomatoes, we've got a couple here that we'll show you here on this video. But next week's part 2 tour, we've got a bunch of different tomato varieties to show you on our back fence line. Look at that, there's one there. We've got one that's right there, and as well, I think there's, yep, another one right down back here too. So we do have some nice fruits growing off of that tomato already. It's probably actually one of our best tomatoes so far, and growing out of what is just basically about, I would say, 10 gallons or so that pot is. So we're getting some decent sized fruits right off of that, growing it out of that container. Now, on both sides of this tomato here, we also have some potatoes. Now, these potatoes have just kind of popped up out of the soil in these containers. We had a few different containers that I didn't really kind of harvest correctly last season. I didn't worry about it too much ultimately, and this year we got some that grew out of the soil. So I've got those in these containers here, and they're about ready to be harvested here. As you can see, the plants are really starting to die back, especially as it's getting hot. They've been growing for quite a while. So that's what we're going to be doing here in an upcoming video, is we're going to dig into these containers that we have all of our different potatoes in. And also we have potatoes growing in a cardboard box. So we'll show what kind of harvest we get out of those here in an upcoming video. And then a couple of my extra sunflowers. I thought I would kind of test them out and see how well they grew in these 5-gallon buckets. They're doing all right, not too bad. I mean, they're not really getting all that tall. And you can see already they've got their flowers already forming. And that one there. But they're doing all right. We should get some really nice flowers out of them. Right down in between them here, in this container here, as you can tell, that's dandelion there. In fact, these dandelion that I'm growing here, I got seeds from Baker Creek, are a pink dandelion, not the usual dandelion that you see in your yards and all of that. This is a pink variety of dandelion that I grew out in order to put into what was going to be those edible flower arrangements in those 45-gallon containers down at the front of the alleyway there. You still haven't put out any flowers yet. I'm hoping to see some of those coming up here real soon, but yeah, really kind of cool to see that. Now over here in some containers, we just got some marigolds growing and some more strawberries. Now these strawberries here, these four things are really just trying to survive in this container here, keeping everything nice and wet. We do a couple of waterings a day, especially in all of our containers in this type of heat. But it's still, you know, probably just a bit much sun for these. So I don't know if we'll continue with strawberries in these containers down the road, but still getting some not too bad fruits. So just past the gate here, along the back part of the fence, we've got our container blueberries in our blue containers here that earlier this season we transplanted from the front of our alleyway and have moved them back here into containers. They were in the ground before, so now they're growing in containers and they're actually doing way better than they were when they were in the ground. So I'm looking at this as being the preferred method for sure, is some nice large containers for your blueberry bushes, give them plenty of root space. And we're getting production off of all four of our plants here. And I haven't had that happen since I planted these about 4 years ago, I would say. So we've been picking lots and lots of blueberries, and there's still lots and lots on the plant. In fact, there's a few actually kind of drying up now because of how hot it is right now. So I got to get on these plants and do another harvest here. Yeah, there's plenty of them still coming up and new berries forming. As you can see back here, we still got a lot of new berries, plus lots and lots of fresh ones here. And here next to those blueberry containers, we've got a couple of our 5-gallon water wicking buckets. And in these buckets, we've got an okra here. You can tell this okra plant is doing a lot better than the one that we've got up in the front of the alleyway. It's got some really nice big leaves. Lots of new leaves actually starting to form, and we do have an okra fruit already. With a couple more coming up, a couple more flowers. These are some really beautiful flowers they put off on these okras. Be interesting to see how well those taste when it comes down to it. We have another variety of tomato. I think this is one of our dark tomatoes, probably one of the leftovers that we put in here from the ones that we have on our back fence line, which we'll show you in part 2 of our summer garden tour here. But this is not doing too bad. We've actually got, yeah, we got some fruit forming here, back here as well. So just got to bear through this heat here, and I'm sure all of these plants are going to really start producing really well too. So when it gets really hot like this, they're going to kind of hold back and even drop flowers, and really young fruits will dry up and drop as well too. So don't worry about that happening. Just wait until your plants get a chance to regrow again as it cools down. So across from the blueberries there, we're kind of running along this other alleyway. We have an intersecting alleyway here that kind of forms a T on our block, and we kind of utilize this space too as well. And right down here we've got a compost area. We put a lot of our scraps and all of our plant cuttings and things like that, and we kind of let those compost down, and then I'll put in some grass clippings and some different leaves and things like that. And harvested this out this season and got some really good compost out of it, and we've been adding to it this year. Yeah, really good stuff. Lots of worms. Lots and lots of worms rolling around in here, just enjoying all of this really good. Organic material there too, that's just really great to see it all breaking down. And we'll have some really great compost to sift through and add to our gardens this next season. Right over here, one of the only things we've kind of got growing right now in this back area is we just harvested all of our garlic up that we had growing. So we're gonna be getting this area prepped up for some fall gardening coming up here real soon in some upcoming videos. But right now I took some of those eggplants that I had, again, like the other plants that we've seen, the watermelon and those two were kind of starts that I had sitting and waiting for me to be able to get out and get them planted into the gardens while I had COVID. And so they're still just, you know, they're trying to grow along and get larger. In fact, they're already, you know, putting off flowers. You can see some fruits forming here. So they're doing all right. They're just not as big as I'd hope. You know, they should probably be up a lot taller right now. But again, we'll just see how they do. Once it starts cooling down, I'm sure these plants will take off and really gain some growth and probably start really putting off a lot of fruit. So, well, we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on how they are doing. So there we go. We've got part one of our summer 2022 garden tour, our alleyway garden tour, in fact, where we went through and checked out all of the really wonderful things that we've got growing on in this alleyway. I'm going to tell you, it's probably one of the more unique garden spaces that you're going to find being covered here on YouTube. So I really also encourage all of you who haven't already and you made it this far into the video, hit that subscribe button right down below so that you can keep following along with us and see more of what we get growing in these garden spaces as we keep growing on here too. Remember, next week we'll have part two of our garden spaces where we'll cover our other side of our back fence here, as well as the back patio and those other carport spaces that we are growing there as well too. We've got a lot of great things coming up here. And also I hope that you all are having a really great growing season and things aren't too hot for you where you are right now. I know we're all dealing with some really extreme heat, but we'll weather through it and we'll keep on growing. I'll see all of you on our next episode. But mainly, oh yeah, perfect timing. So they got the fighter jets in town. Which means they'll be back around for more loops, so we'll just have to do this in between. Tour. This could be part one of the garden. Part one. Hey George, how you doing, bud? Yeah? You hear me talking again, huh? Well, so that's a good chance and a great opportunity for you to, good chance and a great opportunity. Completely unscripted. And so what we have here are, ooh, you all to get down in the description there. No, that's not it. That's not it. Our summer 2022. No, that wasn't it either. We'll do something with that.